See, we have the middle seat here. Storm versus Humans. Should be a tough one for Paul, but he's already 3-0 against it.
Yep. And Paul has said that he's been able to defeat all these human players. We'll see actually how this strategy plays out in action. And Todd Anderson, likely to be the strongest opponent that Paul's played against today. The winningest player on the tour. Haven't seen much from Todd lately, but tons of open top 8s and trophies. An invitational winner. See how many meddling mages and Thalias he can bring to the table.
Yeah, so generally this is considered a pretty tough matchup for Storm. The cards you're looking for, Thalia and Meddling Mage and Kitesail Freebooter. In all his excitement, looks like Paul Muller make that Julian John throwing cards on the floor, so the judge is going to pick those up. We'll go over to the modern matchup. Starting off here.
Todd was on the play. Just a Seacrum Coast to start. Not the fastest. Got to figure he knows what he's playing against.
It's not the fast land. It's fast, but not the fastest land. The fastest land is Gemstone Caverns.
Right. It's less fast when you're on the play, though.
Kitesail Freebooter from Todd. It's one of those 3-2 drops that matters here. Let's take a look at Paul's hand. Laying it out here, we have 7 spells. So we have 2 Opt, 2 Rituals, Manamorph there, Manamorphos and Pyretic, a Baral, a Noxious Survival, and looks like Remand. That card is very bad in this matchup.
Yes.
Now, Todd actually doesn't have Cavern of Souls in play yet, so it does something.
Yep. It always at least draws a card.
Yeah, I guess if Bros only have Barals in play. No, the card's really bad.
Yeah, Remand not so hot. And Paul really needs to use these ops to find a land.
Yeah, he doesn't have the second land. That doesn't make... Do you want to take an opt to try to stop that, or is that too much?
Might be too much. You want to kind of keep Paul off the critical mass of rituals, and you see him go for the Manamorphos. That one, particularly because it draws a card, is the scariest card in the deck.
Upkeep, Paul will opt.
I think end step.
Oh, the end step.
Sorry. He's shocked.
Yeah.
It'd be weird to shock and not use the mana.
Scries to bottom and draws up opt. And there's no reason actually for digging for the land to upkeep versus otherwise on opt.
Right.
So, and does find it. It is going to be Spirebluff Canal, 2 mana. Baral will go ahead and move on out there. So little removal in the Humans deck that this is pretty safe to run out.
Yep.
Could get hit by Reflector Mage. I guess that would be the one removal.
You're about to see that. Todd has drawn at least 1 Reflector Mage.
Yeah, into that. And he'll bounce Baral back into Paul's hand and attack for 1. Paul down to 17. It's okay. Paul wins this matchup all the time. I wouldn't worry.
That's what I've been told. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried. Not under too much pressure, though. Just 3 power on the battlefield so far for Anderson.
Draws Mountain, says go. Opted into that 2-man up. He does have Remand. Both players know about this. Todd will try for Thalia's Lieutenant. That should earn the Remand. Paul draws it, but Todd will just do it again.
That's a bit a little bit weaker than just having a Thalia.
And here's 5 damage. Paul down to 12, but Paul will get to untap with a fair amount of mana here, and now he can cast Baral again. We'll see if he can brew up a storm now.
It's entirely possible that Paul will win this turn. Once you get to a board where you can cast Baral, start casting rituals.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's how you end the game.
I don't know that he has land 4. And if he doesn't, that's going to make this hard. You see Paul actually just main phase opting. He's trying to find another land. It looks like it's not this turn he's going for. It'll be next turn. He'll have to dodge a top-decked Thalia or Meddling Mage from Todd. Makes Baral, says go. But he did opt. The opt of Scry was to the top. And Todd does not draw one of the creatures, so he'll crack Horizon Canopy to try. Draws Kitesail Freebooter. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fine. It's about the 3rd best draw in the deck. Meddling Mage and Thalia would both have been better, but this one at least offers some disruption.
Freebooter, we'll see what Paul's sitting on. Looks like he has 3 rituals. Make that Past in Flames, Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Noxious Revival, another Baral, and I believe that's an Unsubstantiate.
Yes. So this hand can make a decent amount of mana, Past in Flames, recast the rituals, but it doesn't go anywhere from there. And you see Todd just grabbing Unsubstantiate. And that'll keep the Manamorphose under the other freebooter, which I think is the reason that you make this play. Because Manamorphose means that Muller's both producing more mana and actually drawing cards on the combo turn.
Noble Hierarch to pump up humans. Here's 3, 6, 8. Paul down to 4. I mean, you could draw another ritual here up for Paul, though. And this is a great turn. He needs to win this turn, though. Let's see if he can do it.
Gifts Ungiven would close it.
Draws Shivan Reef. That's probably good. And let's go to work.
And here is Caleb Scherer, the Storm counter. Caleb, the legacy seed on Paul's team.
All right, so Pyretic Ritual starts. Storm count at 1, red mana at 3. That other Brawl in hand not going to do much. Pyretic Ritual, Storm to 2, red mana to 5. What I'm interested in here is what Paul's going to do with the Noxious Revival. So Past in Flames brings him Storm to 3 and brings him down to 2 red mana. All those cards in the graveyard now have flashback.
He's going to need to find something off of these ops in his graveyard.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that blue mana, Todd has successfully choked him off that. So cast Pyretic up to 4 red, Storm 4.
Yeah. And because he is just dead on board, you're just going to cast all these rituals.
Yeah.
No reason to think about what can I do next turn. There's no next turn. He's winning or he's losing.
Here's Opt. He'll cast that using his mana, Storm to 5. He'd love to find Manamorphose.
I suppose it's possible he could Storm for a Plague Wind Grape Shot. It would take a bit of setup to go off from there.
Well, hold on. If any Grape Shot's good right now because he can Grape Shot away the freebooter with the Manamorphose on it and then keep going.
Yeah. If you get the Storm count high enough, you can take care of the Manamorphose and the Unsubstantiate and actually Unsubstantiate your Grape Shot if you have enough mana.
Sounds great. Opt scries to the bottom and draws. He's got 1 more blue mana left. That's it. That's what we were watching here. I guess 2 because he hasn't made a land drop and he has Shivan Reef in hand. Opt spell 6. Taps the Spirebluff Canal. Scry to the bottom. Draws. Still looking for a Grape Shot or a Manamorphose. Finds Pyretic Ritual. That's not going to help too much.
Nope.
Running out of...
And now those are the only 2 cantrips in the graveyard.
Here's an island he's found. Snow covered even, but that's not going to matter much. There's 1 more Opt. It's under the Remand.
Ah.
Not easy, though. Noxious Revival. Storm at 7. We'll see what he's doing with this one. I'm a little surprised to see him cast that right now. Putting Remand. Oh, he's going to Remand his own Noxious Revival to draw? Because then he gets to loot off Baral because he successfully countered something.
Okay.
Draws and then loots. Draw and discard. But I don't think he found anything he can cast.
All right, he found a Gifts, but he's out of blue mana now.
Yeah, the choke was blue mana, so he's looking for Grape Shot or Manamorphose. He did not find either, and Todd gets the first game.
And this is not even one of the best draws for humans against Storm.
No, actually, Paul had a really good chance to win this game.
Yeah.
And that's not always going to be true.
Yeah, you don't feel good giving that game up, but the double freebooter was enough to do it against that draw.
All right, so first result of our Table 1 match goes toward Todd Anderson and humans. We'll be back with more Magic in just a minute. So during the break, we have all our Game 1 results in. Both Storm Brothers here losing the first game. It was William Cruse in the Legacy match. However, standard player Julian John in Red-Black Aggro, he takes the first one.
Red-Black Aggro seems to be a pretty strong deck of the standard. It was one you didn't really hear too much about building up to the tournament, but several of the better performing teams today have had that in their standard seat.
And I'm honestly, Ryan, a bit surprised that it's going to be good in this matchup. You look at Red-Black Aggro deck that's a little slower than Mono-Red, and that's playing cards like Heart of Kiran and Scrap Heap Scrounger. I would think this is a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, not being able to block with the Scrounger costs you points, though Unlicensed Disintegration is pretty good in the matchup.
Yeah, that certainly is true. You know, the Searing Blaze effect in a red mirror is pretty fantastic. All right, let's look at the sideboard here. On Paul's side, 4 pieces of the puzzle, 2 Empty the Warrens, 2 Lightning Bolts. Those are none in the main. And a Braid, a Giga Drowse, a Shattering Spree, a Wipe Away, and Engineered Explosives. I love the precognition field. I'm not going to see it here, but it's great. And Chandra Torch of Defiance. This is a hard one because Todd has both disruption and pressure at the same time.
Big part of the plan for Paul here is going to be having a diverse selection of removal spells. The Lightning Bolts, the Abrade, the Wipe Away, the Engineered Explosives, all these as different names for Meddling Mage, and that's where he feels he gets kind of an edge in the matchup. Yeah,
Mage on 2 is, or Engineered Explosives on 2 is huge. Do you like Wipe Away here too, even though it's a little expensive?
It's a little expensive. Just because there's so many permanents that are really tough to beat, I think it's totally reasonable to have it in the deck.
And on Todd's side, when we look at the sideboard, though this is a great matchup for him, his sideboard actually offers a lot of upgrades even more. 3 Dismember, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Phyrexian Revoker, 2 Staticasters, 2 Selfless Spirit, 2 Sin Collector, and 2 Vithian Renegades.
So the one that's pretty clear, Sin Collector, we saw him win game 1 just with some freebooters, so that's kind of a little redundancy on that effect. Staticaster, if you expect them to empty, you can reach for it. Not huge on that, though I do like the Dismembers to keep the Storm player off of the mana creatures.
Serum Visions from Paul. To start game 2, both players keeping on 7. Also don't mind Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah. Yeah, Cage quite powerful in the matchup. Force them to go off from the top of their deck. You can't Past in Flames through that one. Though, Paul bringing in the Wipe Away serves at least an answer to that.
Aether Vial for Todd. Has another one in hand. That can be a bit awkward.
You don't want too much of that kind of effect.
Embassy Slate of Hand from Paul Muller. 2 cards. Looks like one of them was Unsubstantiate, and he'll take the other one. Shocks for Steam Vents. And keep going to work with those Serum Visions, but he's building up a graveyard and draws Slate of Hand, sees Electromancer red card. The mana creatures are great in this matchup. I wouldn't expect him to keep it.
They're kind of important in every matchup.
Well, there's some, I think, where they're just going to be dead so much of the time that you start scrying them to the bottom.
Sure.
This isn't one of those.
Yeah, there's matchups where the plan is to just get a bunch of rituals and Past in Flames.
Yeah. In this matchup, the mana creatures are better than the rituals. Aether Vial up to 1, going back to Todd. Got Meddling Mage in hand. Meddling Mage, Mantis Rider, Noble Hierarch. Aether Vial, land, and one other in the middle there. Puts a lot of pressure on him to name correctly with this Meddling Mage.
I think that the middle card might be Sin Collector, and the dilemma is you want it puts you a little bit off balance on your sequencing, but you'd like to play that before the Meddling Mage.
And he could have waited until next turn to do that, but he does not. He'll just run out Meddling Mage.
Frequently, you'll see them just named Grape Shot, and the alternatives kind of to go for removal spells, but the cast is so diverse there, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Theoretically, you could name Baral.
But then he's going to play Electromancer, and then you'll feel silly.
You'll feel silly with that. You'll also feel silly if they just Grape Shot you.
Well, there's a name on it. We'll confirm what that one is. It doesn't matter. Got hit by Lightning Bolt.
It was not Lightning Bolt.
It was Baral, actually, named Ryan, and now Paul bolts it and casts Baral, so there you go. End step Noble Hierarch from Todd. Aether Vial ticks up to 2.
Yeah, and that card in the middle, that was Sin Collector, so Anderson will get a look.
He'll cast Sin Collector from hand. We'll see Manamorphose, Pyretic Ritual, Abrade, and Slate of Hand. Quite the interactive hand here from Paul.
getting rid of Manamorpho is very frequently correct.
Yeah, when there's a Brawl in play, that's just a really broken Magic card.
Yeah.
Like, negative is just like, makes the mana and draws a card for 0.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's broken. And remember, Sin Collector exiles, which is important.
Yeah, we won't be able to get that back with the Past in Flames. And the Abrade doesn't do anything against Sin Collector. It's good against a number of Anderson's cards.
Yeah, things like Kitesail Freebooter, Meddling Mage. Sin Collector, the damage is already done.
Yep.
What I do like is that Brawl's a 1/3. That's actually pretty good against Sin Collector.
Not with a Noble Hierarch.
Ooh, you're right. Can't block. Sleight of Hand for Paul Muller. Looks like he ships away an Electromancer, takes something else. No real need for 2 of that effect. There aren't that many spells in this deck that have 2 colorless mana on them.
No. They tend to cost 4 if that's the case.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see him in this matchup keep both of them because then he doesn't have to worry about Thalia. But there's not a Thalia in play yet.
Right. You gotta figure Anderson would have cast that one by now.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He has a Aether Vial on 2, as Ball says go. You know, if he had one, surely we'd see it here.
Be playing a little bit fancy to have not already vialed it in.
All right, Vial goes up to 3, and then the end to 1 for Todd. Draws, looks like another Meddling Mage. Correct that. It might be Horizon. That's the Horizon Canopy he picked up. So he'll draw a card off that. Another Sin Collector for Todd. So that might be the Mage. Hold on. This is strong. Let's see what Todd wants to do.
He's had Mantis Rider in his hand. That one should be showing up at some point.
Sin Collector attacks. Well, right now Mantis Rider is barely more damage. You see post-combat casts Mantis Rider.
I see. He was kind of hoping to get abraded on the Sin Collector there. That would be the reason for that line.
Well, if he made the Mantis Rider and attacked, he would have dealt 4, and this attack dealt 3.
Well, if Muller just abrades the Mantis Rider, he deals 0. So that's the argument. Is he wants to get that chip shot or get the abrade.
I like this. During draw step, he's going to vial in a Sin Collector on Paul.
Good timing.
See if he was to... If this is the combo turn for Muller. If it is, he'll start casting rituals here. I'd be surprised, but...
Not too many.
Not too many, yeah.
Yeah, you could see if he has the gifts, you can gifts in response.
Strange to get... Yeah, I guess you can. You can gifts in response to a Sin Collector. What a mind game that turns into. Which of these do I keep? What do you think? Then you get to make me discard 1. Or exile 1 even. There is a gifts in Paul's hand.
It's tough to just give that one up to the collector. You leave some mana off the table if you ritual gifts. You could just gifts and tap out for it.
It's basically what you'd show 4 cards. 2 would go in the graveyard, 1 in exile, and 1 to your hand. That's probably how that works.
Yeah, and you can't really put Past in Flames in the mix because Todd would just put that in your hand and then exile it. It's no good there.
I guess you could put that. Yeah, it's not great. At least then you know which one he's exiling. You can build the rest of it around that.
Yeah.
Do the kind of play where you gifts for another gifts.
Yeah.
He has 15 life points to work with.
Yeah, value gifts where you find gifts.
Pieces.
Maybe 2 cantrips. Otherwise, if you have pieces in the deck, it's the second best card to get. And then like Manamorphose in the mix.
Like Manamorphose, yeah, you get Grape Shot, something like that.
Yeah.
Grape Shot would buy him a ton of turns here, it looks like. Now, the part that Paul doesn't know is I believe Todd's last card is Meddling Mage. And that's going to mess this up. So Paul's going to go bigger. He's going to Pyretic Ritual in response. He wants mana on top. Over on Standard, Mono Red Aggro, Phil Smith takes a game. He ties Julian John at 1.
And here we do see gifts.
All right. And that's so he floats a red mana for Gifts Ungiven. And he's just casting it for 2, Manamorphose and Past in Flames, which Gifts Ungiven has the other mode where if you passed it with just 2 targets, I pick up to 4 cards with different names, and then your opponent picks 2 to go to the graveyard. So if you only pick 2 cards, then they pick 2 to go to the graveyard.
This is no...
This is not a line that was on my radar for what it's worth.
This is no Elish Norn on burial rights. But,
I had not considered that he would make this play. This is nice.
I'm into it.
Show us where you're going, Paul.
All right, let's see the
You've got my attention.
Yeah, making sure you have the Past in Flames.
Yeah.
Once you get the rituals to flash it back, then you're in business. And the Gifts Ungiven in the graveyard, too. That one's not getting exiled.
All right.
Looks like he's thinking about also abrading in response.
He has that red mana floating. All right, we see Abrade, Goblin Electromancer, Desperate Ritual. Sure, Todd will take the Ritual. Ritual's exiled. Now we go to Paul's turn. That mana's going to clear. No, he already drew. They back it up. Which means he can't do anything else. Let's go. Todd puts the vial up to 2, draws. Is that card Meddling Mage? We're going to see. If so, Past in Flames? Well, I guess Abrade is there, right? Here's Mantis Rider. He'll swing in for 6, Paul down to 9.
Now, if we back up, I'm thinking that Paul kind of wishes he didn't use that ritual to cast that Gifts.
We didn't use the mana.
It seems like he might have thought he was in the main phase.
Okay, that would make right.
Because you need a ritual to get up to flashing back Past in Flames.
Going back to Paul at 9. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he made the extra red mana and then it went away, so I think there was some miscalculation there.
Yeah.
It means he's down a ritual. I don't know if that's going to make or break anything here.
So he's down a ritual, and then the Sin Collector took the other ritual that was in his hand.
Right. So had he played it differently, he'd just have another ritual?
Yeah, you'd have a ritual to start. You'd be able to get up to 5. It only costs you 4 to flash back a Past in Flames when you control Baral. Then you can start going with your rituals. Then you'd have 1 ritual plus Manamorphose.
Right.
I think I guess you'd need another mana to be able to profitably Gifts from there.
Here is Goblin Electromancer from Paul, and he says go. He believes he has another turn, but a top-decked Mantis Rider could do work against him. Paul still has the Abrade. Both players know about that. Todd still looks like he has a 2-turn clock. Nothing faster. Swing with both Mantis Riders. Paul down to 3 unless he abrades. Todd's trying to draw the Abrade, and Paul is not biting.
Yeah, 3 and 6, not tremendously different life totals.
Yeah. Todd says go. Vial on 2 tapped. He's going to put Thalia into play. But this means there's no surprise Meddling Mage, and whether there is or isn't one in Todd's hand, Paul now knows there isn't one.
Right, and it still only costs 1 to abrade the Thalia.
Right. Yeah, that Thalia counteracts one of the 2 creatures.
And generally, when you have 2, you really don't even need to deal with the Thalia. He's
Yeah.
a little bit choked on mana. The reason you might see him do it is because flashing back Past in Flames will be discounted by 2 if he's able to get rid of the Thalia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unclear if he would make a profit. I guess if he's going to cast that Gifts again, then he does start profiting by using the Abrade that way.
Right, and you got to figure winning the game does involve flashing back the Gifts.
All right, so this is going to be the Storm turn. Paul starts by abrading Thalia. Storm's at 1.
And I want to say he drew Manamorphose.
That's a big play. Storm is at 2. Manamorphose looks like it's going to get red-blue.
And another ritual would be ideal. Wouldn't mind a land here. And from here, he has 3 mana. That's only exactly enough to flash back Past in Flames, not enough to convert. You have to use all your mana for that. And it looks like he has a Grape Shot blue card, which is not a good mix here. And I think that miscalculation with the ritual is amounting to cost him the game.
It could. Yeah. Yeah, Grape Shot White Boy's not going to do it. So Todd Anderson, 2-0, is going to be your winner. Paul beats humans 3 times in a row. Can't do it for a 4th. So Todd gets the match. We're going to move over to the standard table where Phil Smith and Julian John are about to start game number 3. Phil Smith evened it up. We'll put John on the play. At this point, Julian and Caleb cannot drop any more games.
On the play is certainly where you want to be. For Caleb, he's in a matchup that he tends to get worse in post sideboard, and he's already down a game.
It's not going to be easy. We'll go over here, though. Julian John, Red-Black Aggro, starting off with a turn 1 Bomat Courier. This is going to be an interesting one as both players are on this game plan, so you can board out some of your small cards, but not all of them. See Soulscar Mage from Phil Smith.
Bomat Courier is just so good, but it feels so terrible when your opponent just Soulscar Mages you.
Right? They have a... Wow, you play a 1-2. That's rude. And so Scrap Heap Scrounger the play for Julian.
Can't believe he had it. It's just so much. It's just so much worse than them shocking your Courier.
Second land and just a pass for Phil Smith. Yeah, and another Bomat Courier in hand for Julian. Ugh. He'll swing with the Scrap Heap.
Attacking with Scrounger isn't terrible.
No, Phil will go to 16. And third land for Julian is Spire of Industry, and he'll cast Aethersphere Harvester. Going to make some energy now. It looks like we might have an Abrade possible for Phil, and we do. He's going to Abrade down the Harvesters. Keeps the board even.
That is an important one to answer in these red mirrors.
Harvester of his own.
Well, let's see if Julian can do it. Julian tends to be a little bit better at it because he has unlicensed disintegrations.
Yeah. Julian also with 2 copies of Abrade. He's not above abrading a vehicle.
Yeah.
But yeah, unlicensed can do it in style. There's the energy counter. Up to 2 for Phil. So that life gain can go back and forth. Feels like we're playing for board presence here. Phil does have Hazaret the Fervent in hand. Now, traditionally in these red mirrors, Hazaret is just it's just the card.
The best card by a lot. And that tends to be true in a lot of your matchups.
Yeah, and Julian's deck does not have a way to answer it. Just does not have a way to answer it.
Yeah, he's not even playing his own Soulscar Mages to go with Chandra's defeat in the sideboard.
Plays another Bomat Courier. Swings all 3. Gets cards under both. There's a danger. Phil Cruse tries to crew the Harvester, and Abrade would really hit him hard. And so there's not too much of a reason to. I feel like we're going to just see Soulscar Mage on the middle Courier.
It's pretty safe to make the block with the Mage and the Courier on 2. It's really not worth calling this bluff, even if it is a bluff. This block is just good. You take some damage for it, but if your Harvester is not living, you're not gaining life anyway.
4 more damage sends Phil down to 12. No tricks on Julian's side, just bins that Courier. And then we see Julian did have the Abrade. He Abrades away the Harvester anyway.
Yep, I like the that block by Smith there. That turned out pretty well for him.
I like him, Julian. He opened a window for Phil to make a misplay. Phil did not. But if he had, that would have been a game-changing play.
Yeah, no, Julian's play was also excellent. But things just played out where the quality of Smith's play mattered more.
Yep. Didn't get to... It wasn't a coincidence that their team got to 8-0. And we see Direfleet Daredevil. Ooh, I like this from Phil. Getting the Abrade out of Julian's graveyard, shooting down Bomat Courier, and then Soulscar Mage swings in. Nice play there. And the 2-1 first strike will do well here on top of it.
It's at its best in these mono red mirrors, or just red mirrors, rather. And you see Julian, he's firing off another Bomat Courier just into this first striking Daredevil.
Well, swing, put the cards under them. Over in the Legacy table, Caleb Scherer takes the game. It's now 1-1 between him and Will Cruse.
I think it was a judge call here. John resolved the Bomat Courier trigger and then tried to turn his Scrounger sideways. You see some bickering about that.
Yeah, they're deciding whether or not the... Yeah, and the judge is going to rule this one. He's going to have to talk with both players as to what the progression was.
Yeah, we'll find out.
If it's in one motion and it was clear that he was trying to do it, the judge can give him both attackers by out-of-order sequencing. If it looks like that was not the call made, looks he said because he put the card under, does not believe that that was clear, so he's going to hold him to just the attack from Bomat Courier.
Yeah. Once you resolve that attacking creature, if you haven't turned the other one sideways yet, Anyway. Still deliberating. We'll find out exactly.
Yeah, so this one should be over pretty quick. The judge is going to ask. Yeah, like I said, depending on where the players are. Depending on where the players are, the judge could rule this one either way.
Yeah.
But we will await an official ruling here between the two.
All right. Yeah, so looks like Bomat Courier has been sacrificed, and Julian John drew another Aethersphere Harvester and has committed that to the battlefield. And that is ready to be crewed by the Scrap Heap Scrounger. Looks like the Scrounger was not allowed to attack as it is untapped.
We'll go back over to Phil Smith.
And Smith draws for turn. Not sure what he drew here, but your attacks are really awkward in the face of Aethersphere Harvester. If he has something like another Abrade, really easy to punch through. Though without that, you're probably just committed more to the battlefield. And Glorybringer, that's going to be the play here. This one lines up pretty awkwardly against Aethersphere Harvester, and you see he's just going to hang back here. And back to Julian John. He was empty-handed, draws a basic mountain. That one's not going to be doing anything here. Passes back, and we're back on Phil Smith.
All right, so yeah, the ruling was originally out of order sequencing. That rule from the table judge, the ruling was overturned. So the Scrappy Scrounger was not allowed to attack. Bomat Courier had a card under it. It was sacrificed. The card was placed in Julian's hand, and he played a post-combat Aethersphere Harvester.
And now Phil Smith has this Glorybringer, though he's got to have something to actually clear away the Harvester to make reasonable attacks. If he has just any burn spell here, though, you just aim that at the Harvester before combat damage.
This is a time extension that the judge has added here. You notice the clock moving up, a 10-minute time extension. We'll see what it comes to. As you mentioned, though, a good recovery here from Phil. He's still on the front foot. Glorybringer can attack here. And it looks like no exert from Phil.
Scrap Heap Scrounger, not a great creature to exert on. So that makes sense.
And this is what it's going to come down to. Caleb Scherer actually does take both sideboarded games in Legacy. He's your winner, 2-1.
And doing it the hard way.
Yeah. They can get a winner. All three of these matchups are tough for the Storm team. But
Julian John is very far behind in this game.
yeah. Swings in. Julian takes the hit, goes down to 14. Right, he only has one card in hand. It's a land. It looks like Phil's hand has more threats, and we're going to see some of them. Here's Hazoret the Fervent. Still 2 cards in his hand, so Hazoret's not online yet, but just a ton of mid-range threats. And Julian just drawing. His top card's a mountain. His hand card has a mountain, and the next card he drew is another mountain.
2 mountains is not going to do it. He can crew up the Harvester and attack and gain 3 life, but 17 facing an attack of at least 12. Hazoret can activate. That makes it 14. If he casts a spell, Soulscar Mage is going to be 15. If it's a burn spell upstairs, it's just lethal.
Aethersphere Harvester's crewed and will attack. Julian will give it lifelink. He'll go up to 17. Phil down to 9. He's going to take a lot of damage on this crackback. We'll see just how much it is in a minute. A draw here from Phil. 3 cards in hand. Can he empty 2 of them? Not clear if Hazoret gets to attack just yet.
He's been hanging on to another Dire Fleet Daredevil. You can at least cast that one even if it's for no value, and then activate the Hazoret even if you can't cast another spell.
That makes sense.
I want to say there's been a Chandra's Defeat stuck in the hand because Julian John only controls artifact creatures. You really wish that you could defeat Aethersphere Harvester, but the card doesn't work that way.
No, but even so, it looks like Phil will be ahead in this race. I mean, if he can get that would shoot Julian down to 15. His attack would be for 12. He'd have Julian at 3.
You kind of want to hang something back if you're not coming in for lethal this turn, because you want to respect the possibility that the cards in Julian John's hand do anything.
Okay,
but
that makes sense.
We know that they are just mountains.
And Magma Spray is actually the card. He'll take care of Scrap Heap Scrounger.
That's a good one.
3 mana, discards. No, plays Goblin Chain Whirler. Okay, this is even better. Julian down to 16. This frees him up to swing everything. It's not lethal. It's only 12. And he'll go ahead and swing for 12. Julian down to 4.
I think 13 with prowess, right?
Ooh, you are right. He's got to say 13, though.
That's true. You can't just run the 12.
Now he did it. Julian's down to 3. Julian draws, and there lands, extends the hand. So Will Cruse, Todd Anderson, and Phil Smith win the match on the back of Modern and Standard, and they now